Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just going to be sitting down and playing with a ton of new products. I'm playing a little bit of catch-up and I want to try a bunch of these cream products today. I want to really go in with the Danessa Myricks cheek palettes. I want to try to use this one for bronzer and this one for blush. I also have the new LYS concealer that I really want to give a try. Also the M Cosmetics collection that just came out. This is the Masterpiece collection. I also have a bunch of lip products. I have the Makeup by Mario lip shines. I also have these heart lipsticks from Too Faced. I also have the new Lawless gloss shades. So a bunch of lip products. Maybe we'll just like play around. And then I have a couple products that I still want to continue to test out, which is the Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation. I did a first impressions, but I'm always, continuing to try things out, as well as the Airbrush primer from Hourglass and the powder from Say. And then we just have some other products that I will randomly throw in there, but we're just going to do a really glowy look today. So if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe. If you enjoy trying new makeup, please give this video a thumbs up. I will link all the products that I use today down below, and let's go ahead and begin. So I want to go ahead and start on the eyes. I don't know which palette I want to use, but M Cosmetics came out with their Masterpiece collection. And there's two different palettes in here. We have Rodin, which is the lighter option. They're both gorgeous and neutral. And the darker one is called Da Vinci, which is stunning. I saw a creator named Judy do such a gorgeous look with these palettes, and I wanted to sort of do something similar to what she did. Just really beautiful, like bronzy looks. So I'm probably going to kind of follow what she did. I think I'm going to go in with the Da Vinci palette. I will link her channel down below, by the way, because she just really did such a great video on this collection. But she started off with the satin shade in here and just applied it to the lid. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to put this all over the lid, and then I'll just take a fluffy brush and blend it up. She really, really did a beautiful video on this collection. So I will link her video down below so you guys can check it out. I am a huge fan of M Cosmetics in general. The blushes are just so special, and they did come out with two new shades. I'm going to try to incorporate them in this video, but I'm not sure because we have the Danessa Myricks and I just have a lot of blush to use. So now I'm just going in with a blending brush just to blend this out. I'm trying to not zoom in quite as much. You guys can let me know, but sometimes I look back at my footage and I'm like, girl, do you have to literally be that close? I always feel like a lot of times when I'm watching YouTube videos, especially about makeup, I like can't see the makeup. So it's sort of like not helpful when I watch reviews. I'm like, either the lights are too turned up or they're just sitting so far back. So I think I maybe try to like overcompensate and really get close, but I feel like I'm a little too close at times. And I don't know. I'm trying a different thing. So you guys can let me know if this is a little bit better. I feel like I've just gotten a little too close. Okay, so next I'm gonna go into this middle shade right here. Just use this to deepen up the outer edge. I can't remember exactly what order Judy used the shades, but both of her looks were beautiful with both palettes. So I'm just going to use this to add some depth. And then I'm just going to take a clean brush. This is a Rephr 27 and just sort of blend over everything. So did you guys watch the Super Bowl? My husband is a huge Bengals fan, so he was actually going insane, and sadly they lost, which I was bummed about. I really thought they were going to win. My husband was like going nuts. He's been a Bengals fan forever. My husband was into it. But what'd you guys think about the halftime show? I don't know. I felt kind of like I was really happy with, the performers, just because I feel like, I was born in '88, so I definitely listened to all those songs. But I didn't think the performances were like I felt like it should have been longer. They could have done more. But then I also think maybe they, had to do certain things just because, the Super Bowl is probably pretty controlled in terms of like you can't cuss and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it, but I was hoping it was going to be a little bit, more in depth, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the deepest shade in this palette, and I'm gonna use this to do a wing. I'm not the best at doing smoky wings, but I'm gonna try with this BK Beauty 208. A lot of the times I just have to end up wetting this, which I don't really know why. I'm not good at like doing a smoky wing with just shadow. I see a lot of people use like a flat brush. Maybe I'll try that if this doesn't work out. Actually, I'm just gonna try it because that's what Judy used in her video. This is a Morphe M432, just a flat brush. I feel like I always mess this up. So she did a pretty big smoky wing. So I feel like that gave me a good shape. I'm gonna use the BK Beauty just to enhance it, sort of sharpen it out here. And I'm getting quite a bit of fallout, but that's okay. That's why I do my eyes first. I'm just sort of sharpening this with a wipe. So maybe that is my problem. I feel like the first brush made it easy to sort of do the general shape, and then I could use that BK Beauty just to sort of fine tune. Okay, so I did the smoky wing as best I could. Now I'm going to go back into the palette into this gold shade, and I'm just gonna apply this on the lid. I typically, again, don't do my eyeshadow in this order, but her look was just so pretty. So I'm just using this dry and I'm just putting it all over the lid. If you wanted it more intense, you could definitely wet your brush. All right, so I don't have a new mascara. I'm just gonna use my Lily Lashes, which is one of my favorites. So the palette performed beautifully. I did get quite a bit of fallout, especially from the matte shades, but I actually tend to get that pretty much every time when I try to do like a smoky wing. So it's pretty normal. I just have to wipe, you know, my lower lash line off. So for lashes, I think I'm gonna use these Glamnetic lashes. This is the style Honey. They're half lashes, and then I'm gonna use the liner pen. I just really like this, especially when I don't do like black eyeliner. I just use the brown side and then pop these on. This is a new style to me, but Glamnetic has the best magnetic lashes I've ever tried. So I'm just gonna do a really thin line with the brown side and then pop these on, and we'll move on to the face. All right, so now I wanna move on to Complexion. I'm gonna be using this D'Alba Spray Serum. I just really like this, especially for like my forehead. I did a sponsorship with them, I don't know, a couple months ago. I really just like the ease of use. I mean, you can see I've been using it. It's just really nice, light sort of hydration. And I just honestly like that it's in a spray. Just makes it really easy to do like targeted hydrating. I don't want to over hydrate my T-zone because I'm going to be going in with that Charlotte Tilbury foundation. I also picked up this Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Glow. This is essentially supposed to be like the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. I couldn't think of the word. So let me swatch it for you. It has a huge doe foot. This is not new, but I haven't tried it yet. It's literally like the same concept. So what I'm gonna do is just apply this to the high points. I just literally slopped it everywhere. Look how glowy my forehead looks. The high points of my face, and just avoid my T-zone just because I don't want it to enhance my texture or make me too oily. So I'm just gonna blend this in, probably very similar to like the Auric Glow Lust as well. So I'm just kind of keeping it, ooh, it's really pretty. The texture feels, it's not like super heavy or hydrating in the sense that there's like a heavy, thick layer, which is something that I've struggled with certain products just because I feel like it enhances my texture. It's really pretty. I feel like this came in multiple shades. Yes, this is Crystal Nebula. It's giving me like a really pretty glow. Now for the T-zone, I am continuing to test out this Hourglass Airbrush Primer, the Vanish Airbrush Primer. I really like this for smoothing pores, but also it does claim to have shine control. And I have noticed with the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, this with that, I like it a lot more. I don't get as oily. If you watched my first impressions on the NARS and also the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, they just got really oily on me very quickly. If you hear squeaking, it's my husband downstairs with a puppy. So anyways, I want to try this out with the Charlotte Tilbury to see if it doesn't get as oily on me. I've just been enjoying this. It's almost like a gel moisturizer hybrid. And then it almost sets down to like a soft matte finish. It feels incredible. My husband is literally like going crazy right now. So in terms of the shade I got in the Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation, I picked up 6 Neutral. I feel like the shade I chose was pretty nice. I know that some of them can run quite warm and I didn't want that. So I'm glad I chose a neutral color. And I thought this was a really beautiful foundation, but it just got so incredibly oily on me very quickly. And it just kept getting oilier. Like it was one of those that I would have had to baby all day and, you know, blot every 2 hours. But in terms of the coverage, I would say it's a medium coverage. But I definitely would say dewy finish. So I am really interested to see if that Hourglass primer makes a difference. So as you can see, this is very glowy. I want to go in next with this Danessa Myricks palette. I want to attempt to use this as a bronzer, specifically this shade. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I really just wanted to try as much as possible. This formula is very dewy, and I do like to do a bronze or contour cream product before I do concealer in case I do bring it down too low. So I'm going to go into this shade. I really don't know how I want to do this. I mean, it's very like tacky. It's just one of those that I feel like is not the easiest to use. So I'm just going to apply with my finger, and I really don't know if this shade will be, you know, a little bit too like red toned, just because it really is a blush. I mean, it's intended to be a blush. I'm going to go in for a second layer. I just really wanted to think about all the ways I could use these palettes. I don't know if that's working how I wanted it to. I'm going to take my sponge and dip in maybe just a little bit more product. That blended out okay, but I'm actually going to go in with this Rare Beauty cream bronzer in the shade Happy Soul, just because I feel like I actually do want to use an actual bronzer, and I don't think that is the right color, but I did want to try it. This Rare Beauty one is pretty easy to use, and I'm not really like a cream bronzer type of gal. I just take it off the actual product or the stick. I just find that the easiest, and I don't really like to swipe products on my face. I feel like that just is asking for lifting. So now that we have the bronzer on, let's move into concealer. I have the new LYS Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. I have the shade MN1. I love the packaging, but I do have to say it's very sort of hard to get out. Like you have to pull it and I feel like product's gonna fly. It has a bent little doe foot, and then when you go to put it back in, you just have to be careful because you really have to like get the angle right, or else you're gonna break the doe foot off just because of that bend. So this is supposed to be a natural finish, full coverage. So I'm going to apply this. Feels very thin and it feels quite creamy. Yeah, it feels very, very thin. So I'm just flipping my sponge over to blend. And it blends super easily. I mean, like very minimal effort. Very, very quick. Looks nice and hydrated. I don't know if I would say full coverage. I would say maybe a medium. I might try to add a little bit more, but it doesn't look heavy at all. It looks honestly quite natural to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit more right in my problem areas. So I feel like that helped a little bit. So this is what my skin is looking like with that concealer. I actually really like it. I would actually like to get a lighter shade. I found it really hard to choose online. I felt like all the shades looked almost like photoshopped, or they looked gray. Like the coloring was really hard to decide, but I would like to get maybe like 2 shades lighter just for a little bit more brightening. To me, I don't know if I agree with full coverage. Even building it, I would say medium. Very thin formula. It doesn't feel drying at all. I'm curious to see how this is going to go with powder. But for now, I want to move on to the cheeks and then we'll start setting everything. So let's go ahead and use this Danessa Myricks Dewy Cheek and Lip Palette in Do It Flirty. Now, I mentioned this in my haul, but something about this shade in particular is so much softer to the point where I just used a sponge to try to use this and it just like gunked up. So it's interesting, if I swipe my finger back and forth on that shade, it's typical, you know, it's a dewy, you know, creamy product, but this shade, for whatever reason, it's almost just like melted, and it's only this shade. So I don't really know what that's about. I'm trying to decide what color. I think I do want to go in maybe with this shade here that looks like it has a little bit of a radiance to it, and see how it applies on the cheeks. So I'm going to take my sponge on the end I haven't used yet, and I'm just going to dip in a couple times lightly and start applying to the cheeks. So it feels quite sheer. I'm going in with this shade right here. So let's go ahead and just build this up. Okay, it still feels pretty sheer to me. Maybe we'll go in with that like more purpley pink next. So I'm just gonna do the other side. So I would say this is a sticky formula. It is, I don't know, it's almost like if you took lipstick and melted it into a pan. I know Danessa Myricks said that you could do it over powder, but even when she demoed it, it was almost like she did it over like a lightly set face, not like a full baked face or fully set. Okay, so that's pretty. It's showing up more. Just had to build up that shade, which I don't mind building my blush up. So now I want to go into this shade right here and see what happens if this is a little bit more punchy. I'm gonna keep this back a little bit more. Yeah, this shade is showing up more. So this shade on the face is translating much more pink, even though it has that like purple tone in the pan. I zoomed you in a little bit more just so you can really see the glow. So definitely a glowy formula. You have to build it up. But it's just really, really dewy. I'm curious to see how this is going to work once we set. I'm probably going to use my Dior Powder No Powder over this just because I feel like that powder just works the best with creams. So to set the perimeters of my face, I'm going to go in with the shade 3N. The only thing about this powder is it gets like hard pan. I'm going to use my Beauty Blender Power Pocket Puff, and I'm just going to stamp over the cream products. This is just the best duo, in my opinion, to go over cream products because I've had a lot of issues just with lifting. And I think that's why they call this the Powder No Powder, because it really doesn't feel like you put anything on, but it sets things very lightly. So now I'm setting my under eyes with my Huda powder. This is just my tried and true powder, and I really want to use it to see how I feel about the LYS concealer. Also just going to pull it on the sides of my nose, but you can see how it really does take a lot of the dew away. So the under eyes look good set. I'm gonna go in with this Say powder. This is the Air Set Radiant Loose Setting Powder. Tried this in another video. It didn't seem super luminous to me, but I'm gonna try to use it just sort of dusted on my skin. I have the lightest shade. There's 3 different shades, and it does have this twisty mechanism so you can just get your powder out easily, or, you know, make it harder depending on your preference. I like to just dump my powder out. So I'm just going to dust this all over, kind of around where we put the cream products. I found that it really didn't have, you know, like a super intense glow. It was very subtle, which I actually really like, because a lot of times the powders that have a radiance to them, I just feel like make my texture look really bad. And I didn't notice with this one really. So I feel like we definitely lost some of the vibrance of the blush because we set with powder. And that's one reason I like to actually put cream blush over my powder, just because I feel like then you have to layer something else on and I don't really get the point. But instead of using the Danessa Myricks over powder, I want to use these Heaven's Glow blushes from M Cosmetics. So we have Rococo, which is the deeper shade right here. This one I think may be a little bit too dark for what we have going on, but we have this other one called Baroque, and this one almost looks like a highlighter. It reminds me of the pink version they have already. I can't remember the name of it, but this looks a little bit lighter. Now I did use this the other day and it was really glowy, like more glowy than the other ones. So I'm gonna use just a little bit of this and sort of sweep it over my cheeks. So I'm just going to lightly put this over my cheeks. Can you see that glow to it? They all have a glow, or these Heaven's Glow blushes all have a glow, but I thought this one just really looked a little bit more glowy. So I don't mind it, but I just noticed like right here, it's not what I'm typically used to. I feel like it's a little too much right there. Because I'm crazy, I hope I don't mess this up. I think I am gonna go back in to this palette, into this shade, and see if I can apply a little bit on top of powder. If this lifts, I'm not gonna be happy. I'm gonna take some, put it on the back of my hand, or the underside of my hand, and just, I'm using literally the lightest pressure possible. Okay, so I feel like that did apply okay over powder. When I tell you I'm using the lightest pressure, I'm barely touching, because I just feel like this formula is so emollient and so sticky that I don't want to disrupt what's underneath. Okay, I really like it now that I built those two up together. I just prefer a strong blush. So I feel like this is easier to work with than I had thought. You just have to use a light hand, and I wouldn't just smear it all over your face, but it did work nicely even over powder, so that's a good thing. All right, so to finish off the eyes, I'm gonna go in to the deepest shade in the M Cosmetics palette. I'm gonna use a Rephr 03, and I'm just gonna use this on the lower lash line, about halfway over here. Well, maybe more than halfway. I lied. And then next I'm gonna grab this shade right here, and I'm just gonna use this to smoke out very lightly. And to highlight the inner corner, I'm gonna go in with the lightest shimmer. I'm just gonna use this dry. For tight line, Melt Cosmetics came out with these new Slick Waterline eye pencils. I'm gonna use this deep brown shade. Feels very creamy. The key for me is it gonna bother me in my contacts? Ooh, it feels very creamy. I guess I could put it on my lower waterline. I mean, you can see like how pigmented that is. That totally changed the look, but we're just gonna go with it. It's very creamy. Very pigmented. Well, since we took it there, I'm gonna take a little bit of this on a brush. This is my preferred method. I wanna see how this smudges out on the lower lash line here. Seem to smudge pretty nicely. Like the formula feels really nice. Curious how this sets. My favorite has to be the Nabla Cupid's Arrow. Those ones are just like so creamy and pigmented, and they set and wear all day. So I'm interested to see how this one wears. All right, so now let's move on and finish off lips. I have a few options. I have these lipsticks from Too Faced. They're the Heart Core lipsticks. Let me swatch a couple of them. So they have like a kind of heart in the middle, which gives them a different color. So this one is Too Femme, which I don't know, that looks a little bit too pink for what I'm going for. These have really good reviews on Sephora when I look these up. I also have Never Grow Up. So they almost look darker when you get them or you push them up, but because the center has, that's a pretty shade. It smells, ooh, it smells good. This smells like candy. That shade is called Never Grow Up. That's more my speed. I also have the Makeup by Mario. These are the plumping lip serums, and these are incredible. I'm trying to think what color would go with this. Maybe this one, which is Apricot Glow. Let me swatch this. So these like melt on contact, and they look super glossy on the lips. I'm gonna go ahead and line my lips first with the Makeup by Mario lip pencil in Travis, and then I'll decide which lip color I wanna go with. Lips are lined. I wanna try the Makeup by Mario Plumping Lip Serum in Apricot Glow. These are so gorgeous. They literally just like melt when you put them on. I mean, they're like incredibly high shine, incredibly comfortable. Wow. Okay, I love the Makeup by Mario lip products, but I have these new glosses from Lawless, which is another product I love. And I thought about using maybe this shade Annie in the center of my lips. It's almost like a golden peachy shade. And then also the other one that I thought was really pretty was Glazed, which is more of like gold shift. But because the blush has a little bit of peach in it, I think I'm gonna go for Annie. I mean, I feel like my lips are already really glossy, but I love this formula. So that just added a little bit of like a golden shimmer. And then to finish off this look, I feel like I do need some highlighter. So I'm gonna go in with my LYS highlighter. I use this maybe in like one video. I really enjoy it. It's very gold, but very glowy. Just feel like I need glow, because our complexion has that really glowy blush on it. All right, guys, so here's my finished makeup look, trying a bunch of new products. I have to say I really love how it turned out. Shout out to Judy for the inspiration. Starting off with the M Cosmetics palette, I think it's gorgeous. It's a really beautiful color story. I love that you have 3 mattes, all differing colors, and then you have these beautiful shimmers and a satin. I honestly have no complaints. It was very easy to use. Also, really enjoying this Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow. Essentially, it's just sort of like a glowy product that you can put under your base, mix in, and I think you can even put it on top. Interested to keep trying this. I know a lot of people really love Lisa Eldridge. This is just very similar to the Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury, and I like that it didn't feel overly gunky or heavy. So interested to keep giving this a try. Really loving the Hourglass primer. I really think that it blurs beautifully. I mean, I really am surprised by this. I didn't think it was going to be for me, but it doesn't even have that silicone feel to it, but for some reason it just blurs everything out. And I do also think that it helps with shine control. So interested to see how this wears with the Charlotte Tilbury as the day goes on, because I get very, very dewy and oily with the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, and I'm interested to see if this will help with the longevity and just not needing to touch up as much. Still testing out the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. I know it's not going to become a favorite just because it is a little bit too dewy for me, and I do find that I feel like even setting it, it doesn't feel set in certain areas. I feel like it just transfers a lot, just a little bit too thick for my liking. I think it's okay, and if you have dry skin, you'd probably love it, but I have combo, so I'm just trying to get my full thoughts for it. Really like this LYS concealer. I feel like it looks nice and smooth, very thin. It's not drying at all. I would just like to get maybe a lighter shade just to really brighten up a little bit, but quite happy with this, have no complaints about it. Also really like the Danessa Myricks palettes. Now I will say this palette is probably not going to get a lot of use from me just because it's just really not the type of blushes I go for. I tend to go for really punchy blushes, but I'm pleasantly surprised with how easy this was to use. I used it over powder, I used it on an unset face, and I used 2 of the shades, and I felt like it was very easy to use. Just use a light pressure. Really love the glow. Now these are more of a creamy formula, so if you have dry skin, if you love cream products, I think you will really like these. If you're new to cream products, I would say go for like the Patrick Ta, a little bit more user-friendly. These are just a little bit more emollient than I prefer, but I still love the colors, and I felt like they blended beautifully on the skin, so I'm happy to have this. I still need to use the Say Beauty powder to get my thoughts, but again, nothing's going to replace my Huda Beauty for my T-zone, but I do like this in the sense that it's very light, it doesn't add texture, and it is slightly radiant, but it doesn't have glitter and it doesn't enhance my texture. So I'm interested to keep trying it, but I really just don't see anything knocking my Huda Beauty out of the under eye and T-zone area. Really love the blushes from M Cosmetics. This one, as I said, is a little bit more, I guess, glowy than the other shades that I'm used to. It could just be because it's a lighter shade. So for me, this can almost be like a blush topper, whereas the other shades can be blush just all over my face. I felt like this one was just a little bit more glowy than I anticipated, but I'll have to try out the deeper shade when I, do more trying new makeup videos. Really like the Melt Cosmetics Slick Waterline Eye Pencil. Very pigmented, very creamy. I want to see how this wears, if it's going to be one that's going to bleed all over or if it's going to hang on. This may be a new favorite. We'll have to see. Absolutely adore the Makeup by Mario lip serums. These are just stunning. So high shine, so comfortable, yet not bleeding all over my face. They just melt the second they touch your lips, but they have pigment, and I'm so glad they have pigment. A lot of times I see brands come out with like 5 glosses or 10 glosses or balms, and they're all so sheer, there's no difference. These have pigment to them. They're absolutely gorgeous. There's a reason they keep selling out. Highly recommend these. And of course, I adore the Lawless glosses. They're very thick, they coat the lips, they have a cooling sensation, and they are just super high shine. I absolutely love them so much. So I think that is everything for this video. Quite happy with how my makeup turned out. Really fun playing with some products that I was a little bit intimidated by, but feel like everything worked out nicely. So let me know down below which products you guys thought looked great or what you want to try. I will link all the products down below that I used today. If you're new here, I hope you subscribe. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.